Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505. Welcome back to the channel. If you are brand new, well, welcome back. Blah. We went through an hour stream with Adam, so I'm a little take two.
Mhm.
Welcome to Townsend 505. My name's Nick. Welcome to the channel. If you are new, welcome back if you're a little viewer. Today, me and Bryer from Bryer's Music Showcase, we're going to be continuing off our epic Black Sabbath series. We're on their 14th studio album, which is crazy. We're,
Yep.
we're along in a really good pace right now, getting through these. Um, Headless Cross, Tony Martin's second album as a Black Sabbath member. Of course, he was on the last album, The Eternal Idol. Um, Bro, you have anything you want to say before we begin? I know you'd have your background information bit.
Of course. But yeah. So basically, what happened between this album and the last album? Well, I think I mentioned it briefly, but after the Eternal Idol, they would be dropped by Warner Brothers and I forgot the other. I think Vertigo. Yeah, Vertigo. And so now they need a new record label, and they actually found one with the label IRS Records. And the person who owned it was Miles Copeland, which is significant because that's the brother of the Police drummer Stuart Copeland. And Miles went up to Tony and he was like, "Hey, do you want to come to our label?" And really the deal breaker was that if Black Sabbath went on their label, then they had free range to do whatever they want. They weren't going to get that much interference. They just had free range, and of course, Tony took that offer. So, yep, now they had a new home. Um, and around this time, this is another period where the lineup was going to change again. We have some new members. So Eric Singer, who played on the last two albums, he left. So Tony actually found a drummer by the name of Cozy Powell, and Cozy Powell is a very significant drummer in the hard rock and metal genre. He's played with a countless number of bands. I know he's played with Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. He's played with Jeff Beck. I mean, he's been in Whitesnake, so he has a whole repertoire of people he's played with, and so Cozy agreed to join. And funny enough, Tony Iommi was kind of considering maybe replacing Tony Martin, but it was actually Cozy Powell who convinced him, like, no, let's keep him around. Let's keep him for another album. Like, I think he has potential here. Um, and so they decided to keep Tony Martin on. And there's actually talk that Geezer Butler might return for this album, but that didn't happen. Of course, Geezer actually went off and toured with Ozzy instead. So that's an interesting thing because again, there's still that somewhat rivalry with Ozzy and Black Sabbath. But besides that, but finally get to making this album, and this is where Tony Martin really starts to be more involved. He's writing a lot of the songs here this time around, and actually has more of an input, which is interesting. And what's interesting about this album is that this is where they're kind of starting, and you can kind of tell with the name of the album that they're starting to go back to that sort of that occult sort of thing that they were kind of doing in the beginning of the career. So they're bringing it back, so it has a more evil sound to it, which is kind of interesting here, especially this late in their career. Um, but yeah, they released the album, and this actually got a little bit more positive reception than the Eternal Idol. It got to number 31 in the UK, so not too bad. Still in the US, it didn't do too well. It did get higher than Eternal Idol. I believe the Eternal Idol was somewhere in the 160s. This got to 115, so it went up, but still pretty low. Didn't even make the 100. So again, they're still not in that popular field that they once had, but yeah, there's that. Um, so out to my like general thoughts on this album, and I've said this before, but of the Tony Martin stuff I've heard, I think this is by far my favorite of the five that he's done. Um, again, I think this definitely is a big step up from the last album. The last album I thought was a little safe, still good, but still on the safe end of things. Kind of a little reboot, shall we say? But here they're really uh, kind of evolving what they started on the last one, and I think the results are very good. So I'll go more in depth when we get to the track by track.
My thoughts on this album is awesome. It's a great combination between their this it's a great mix between their awesome 80s sound that they had when they were with Dio and the other singers to that awesome like sort of dark sound they had with Ozzy Osbourne. So I think it's like a perfect mix between both those sounds. Um, I'm not going to go too in depth on my brief thoughts. This is going to be I'm just going to let my review speak for itself.
What do you think of the album cover?
It's an awesome album cover. I really like it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I do like it's pretty simple, but I think it's pretty effective. I do like the design of the cross itself. I think it's kind of nice, and also you have a nice get the moon in the background, and I do like the back cover too. I do like how that little mist that kind of has a misty quality to it.
Oh yeah, and one more thing I'm gonna add is I'm pissed off that this is not on iTunes.
Yeah,
I'm really pissed.
Not on Spotify either.
Nope. That's my last thoughts on it before we review the album. First track on the album, we get The Gates of Hell.
I mean, there's not much to say about it. Again, it's another one of those instrumental pieces, but this is really just meant to kind of set the mood. Got the keyboards going. Again, you still have Jeff Nichols on keyboards here, and so yeah, just kind of setting the mood. But it's really supposed to lead us into the title track. So it would be it is last place, but again, it's going to be there by default. But
Yeah.
still, it is what it is.
I think this is good, but let's get to the next track.
Yeah,
Headless Cross. Let's talk.
All right. So now we get to the real deal here. And already you get a great drum beat by Cozy Powell. I've always enjoyed Cozy's playing based on what I've heard. I've heard a good bit of his stuff that he's been in. And yeah, really good drum groove. And then it just goes right into the guitar riff. Just another killer guitar riff by Tony here, of course. And the keyboards, again, adding more texture, getting more layers to this. And overall, the bass and the drums just kind of lock in really well. The person on bass this time, we have Lawrence Cottle on bass, and I think he's doing a good job here. And once Tony Martin comes in, then yeah, he is doing a spectacular job here, just setting the mood, just bringing this very darker tone in. And then once you get to when he gets to the chorus, I mean, at the very end, you hear Tony actually use his higher register. He gives a good scream on the Headless Cross line. I've always loved that moment. And again, there's the bridge section with the guitars and the keyboards just give this big epic sound to it, which is awesome. And overall, a really good opening song here. So it's definitely a highlight for me.
I'm in full agreement with you. This is an awesome song on the album. I mean, oh man, I wish the song was a hit. The song is so good.
Yep, another one that got a music video.
It was not good.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it was better than the others, but it's kind of not much to say about it.
Black Sabbath is a. Pardon me. Black Sabbath's not a music video band.
No,
they've proven that. They've gone and proven that already now with these moves that they've had. Yeah, this is a awesome song to basically open up the album. This definitely made my top 5.
Oh yeah,
really really good. Next track on the album, Devil and Daughter.
All right. So there's actually a funny story. There's 2 songs on here that are kind of the same boat, because the thing is, this was around the time Ozzy released another solo album. I already forgot what the album was called, but the original title for this song was called Devil's Daughter. And literally on Ozzy's solo album, there's a song called Devil's Daughter. So they're like, okay, we got to change that. And so they geniusly decided to change it to Devil and Daughter. Totally different now. But yeah, besides that little tidbit, again, it's a nice, good follow-up song, a good hard rock number. Again, the keyboards I really enjoy, got a good riff. Again, I mean, Cozy Powell's drumming is pretty upfront. Like he's like, you can hear the snare just really kicking through. Just a good driving song. And again, Tony Martin really doing a great job in the vocal department, especially when he screams out "running again." Like such a cool again. Another reason why Tony Martin's very underrated. Like he has some great vocal moments, and this is a good one. Yeah, very good one. Good song here.
The song is awesome. I love this song so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it. I say this a bunch of times. I'm ranking these songs as we go along in the series. 4 out of the 5 songs in my top 5 make it onto my top 10 Black Sabbath songs.
Nice.
So,
Okay. Cool.
yeah. And this is one of them. This is one of the songs that make it into my top 10. This is an awesome, awesome song. I
Mhm.
really freaking love this song. It's such a great song. Um, but yeah, this is just an epic song that, like, oh man, the more the song goes on, the more it just gets better. Such an awesome song.
Mhm.
Um, side 1 ends out on When Death Calls.
All right. I got a lot to say about this one. It's the longest song on the album. Um, and yeah, it starts out with a on this kind of very moody, kind of atmospheric type of thing. Sounds like the guitar. Sounds like he's using harmonics on the guitar, which is kind of cool. Again, like the texture there, and the keyboards give this kind of. It almost gives like a string arrangement, even though I'm pretty sure that was just keyboards. Um, and yeah, and again, Tony Martin doing a good job with the vocals, kind of having a more lower tone to it. But then it just kicks in with the guitar riff, and yeah, that's when it just like, oh yeah, this is great. And so it's so heavy, such a heavy track. It just keeps going back and forth with the slow and the heaviness. But then at some point, around the halfway point, it really starts to speed up. It gets a lot faster. Again, Cozy doing a great job in the drumming as always. But then probably the biggest highlight of this song is around the 4.5 minute mark. We hear a guitar solo. And of course, this guitar solo sounds a bit different from Tony Iommi. Definitely has a different style to it. Well, of course, the significant thing is that guitar solo was not done by Tony. It was actually a guest guitarist, and that guitar player was none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Brian May. So again, Brian May, just such an awesome guitar solo he does. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite guitar solos I've heard from him. Again, it still has that Queen feel to it, but it works so well here. And I mean, it goes without saying that 'cause, Brian May and Tony Iommi have always been good friends, and so it's pretty awesome to have Brian here for this one moment. Definitely the biggest highlight on this album for me. And overall, this is an epic track. This is by far a huge standout for me. So love this song.
Yeah, I think this is a really good song.
Mhm.
You summed it up really well.
Mhm.
Um, this sadly didn't make my top 5 though. I thought it was really good, but it just happens to be some songs that are above it.
Mm.
Um, sadly, sad news, I guess.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think Brian May does a really good job. Um, this is the part where we flip the record over to side 2.
All right. Oh man.
Kill
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
kill it
I will
in the
say though, I don't know if I should have this upside down for too long, especially if there's religious people here. But
I
oh
don't,
well.
I don't think Scott or Jason's gonna be watching this video anytime soon.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But anyhow, moving on. So, killing the spirit world. All right. Love the verses to this song. Just definitely has a very good catchy rhythm to it, very good catchy melody, which I really enjoy. But it's cool that they switch it up in the chorus where it kind of switches to this more sinister kind of feel to it, which I really enjoy. And 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 it goes back to that catchiness in the verses. It's just a good play with dynamics that Black Sabbath has done many times. Has always been a good highlight. Um, Again, good guitar solo. Um, just overall another very great song. This one was another pretty highlight for me.
Oh yeah, this song is awesome. This is a huge highlight for me too. This made my top five easily. It's such a great way to open up side two. It's epic track. Um, Now we get to the next song on the album, "Call of the Wind of the Wild." I mean, bleh.
Come of the Wild. Okay, so you know how I talked about that Ozzy solo album. Well, this is another one of those songs that had to be changed because
Okay.
this song was originally called Hero, but again on that Ozzy solo album they had a song called Hero, so got to change that. So now it's called Call of the Wild. Um, okay, so aside from that, again another pretty good catchy melody, catchy guitar riff here. Again, the drumming here top notch. Another great vocal performance by Tony Martin, and chorus is really cool. I think the chorus is pretty nice, getting nice memorable parts, and even the bridge section is really cool, with a great guitar solo with it, and just top to bottom, just another great listen all the way through. So again, another very great song here, another highlight.
Yeah, this is a really good song. This just barely didn't make my top five though, but man, this song's a huge standout to me. This is another epic song on the album. I mean, man, this is an epic album. It's
Mm-hmm.
this should have been a smash hit of an album in my opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
sadly, I wasn't born in around. Sadly, I wasn't alive around this time. But
Yep.
it is. Um, Next song on the album, "Black Moon."
All right, Black Moon. Okay, so very nice song here. Good riff here. Um, Good strong chorus. Cozy's drumming great, pretty good. Nice guitar solo, pretty great. I will say it's probably the most like straightforward song on here. So I think on this album it does rank close to the bottom, but again, it's still a great song. But again, to me, there's just wasn't not much really. There's not much that really made it stand out from the rest. But again, it's still a good song. There's no bad songs on this album. But yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, I agree. I personally really enjoy this song. This actually this made my top five. Black Moon. I really like that song. But I get where you're coming from though. It is more straightforward, but I think Black Sabbath does really good at doing straightforward songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, another amazing song. Um, Now we get to the last song on the album. On the regular album, Nightwing. What do you think of that song?
All right, Nightwing. So y- another very cool song. This is like the first time we hear acoustic guitar in this album, and again, sounds really nice. I like this kind of the sound of it. Kind of adds to the atmosphere of it, and there's some nice bass played underneath it as well, which was pretty nice. Because overall, the bass playing has been pretty solid, but nothing to really make it stand out. But on this particular song, during this intro, that's kind of where it is more prominent, which I appreciate. Um, Again, then once kind of like earlier songs, it's playing around with dynamics. It switches again to a more heavier guitar riff, but then going back to that slower tone. Um, and it, but it just sounds very cool. And again, this is where I think Tony Martin has another very good vocal performance on this album. He's just going low, screaming, just sounds so cool. Keyboards, guitar, and the guitar solo sound very nice. And overall, I think this is a very excellent closing song. So another highlight for me. So there you go.
This is a good closing track. It's Of all the regular songs on this album, probably my least favorite on the album, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. It's still a really good song on the album. I really like it. It's a
Hmm.
great closer track. Uh, Now we get to the last, this is a bonus track we're going to talk about, and it's Cloak and the Dagger.
Yeah. So this was, I believe, was the B side to the title track when it was released as a single, and it's got a good riff to it, some nice bass playing. Tony still sounds great here, and some nice drumming. I guess another one of those like more straightforward songs. And after listening to it, I can kind of see why it wasn't on the actual album. It definitely has a different feel to it compared to the rest. But still a very good song. But yeah, I mean, if I were to rank this with the others with the whole album, again, it's kind of more towards the bottom, kind of more well bottom middle somewhere around there. But yeah, it's a fine song. Again, even though B sides I think are pretty strong. So there you go.
Yeah, this is my least favorite in out of all the regular songs. This is good, but I'm glad that it didn't
Hmm.
make on the album. Um, what is your top five going to be?
All right. So top five. Okay, so number five, I have Kill in the Spirit World. Number four, I have Call of the Wild. Number three, I have Nightwing. Number two, I have the title track Headless Cross. And number one, I'm gonna go with When Death Calls. My queen bias is sky high right now. So there you go. That's the number one.
Okay. Um, my number five is going to be Headless Cross. Number four, Black Moon. Number three, Kill in the Spirit World. Number two, Devil and Daughter. And my number one, I completely lied to you before. This song is my favorite on the album. When Death Calls. I
Oh
love
wow.
it.
Yeah, you
I
actually you really did got me there.
I love this song. And after finding out this was the Brian May song, I'm like, that makes sense. This is epic, and this is now my favorite Black Sabbath song.
Wow, sweet.
So this is Natural Acrobat. You are my favorite song for 13 albums. When Death Calls has taken your spot.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's now the king of all Black Sabbath songs, and
Mm.
I underplayed it on purpose. This is an epic song. This song is so cool. I love the awesome guitar solo by Brian May.
Hmm.
This is I I didn't know this was the Brian May song. I'm like, this is epic. When I found out it was Brian May, I'm like, hell yeah!
Yeah.
This was one of their hell yeah moments for Black Sabbath, and yep, I'm with you on that, Bryer. This is easily the best song on the album.
That's good to know. I'm happy now.
I'll I knew you were upset. I'm like wait until we get to the end. But
You
my
basically pulled what I did on that House of the Holy video.
with the no quarter. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm gonna do with Brian. I'm gonna do with what he did with no quarter. But yeah, I underplayed it just to get that feeling at the end. My top 10 Black Sabbath songs now: "Children of the Sea" from Heaven and Hell, "Who Are You" from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, "Zero," the Hero from Born Again, 7, "Black Moon" from Headless Cross, number 6, "Wishing Well" from Heaven and Hell. My 5 favorite songs from Black Sabbath ever: "Kill in the Spirit World" from this album, "Devil and Daughter" from this album, "Heaven and Hell" from Heaven and Hell, "National Acrobat" from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and "When Death Calls" is my favorite Black Sabbath song. And
Right.
it's crazy. Only 2 songs from the Sabbath from the Ozzy Osbourne period are in my top 10. It's crazy,
Wow,
but
yeah. It is, yeah.
that's just how it works.
Yeah.
What do you rate this album from 1 through 10?
Okay, so this is gonna get a very high 9.5 from me. Again, still such a strong album, really great. Again, it's heavy. Again, Tony Martin just really showing just what a powerhouse vocalist he can be. A huge step up from the last one, like I said. Some great, good catchy melodies, good riffs, great drumming from Cozy Powell. Just all around a very good album. And I haven't been I haven't really mentioned my album ranking, but this is definitely going to be a top 10 album for me. So it's very high. So there you go, 9.5.
This album's gonna be a 10 out of 10 for me. I love everything on this thing. Um, may or may not be my favorite Black Sabbath album now. Who
Mm,
knows? I
yeah.
don't. Who knows? Um, it's definitely competing against Heaven and Hell now. Let's just say
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, it has my favorite Black Sabbath song, so who knows? I might have a
Yeah.
bias because of that. Um, uh, now knowing that the ninth song is just a bonus track, it definitely helps it even more for that.
Hmm.
Um, but that'll be it for today. You have anything else you want to say before we close out for today?
Well, with this album, we definitely talked about more hellish themes. But next time it's going to be interesting because we're actually moving away from the occult themes, and now we're going to be talking about some Norse mythology on the next one. So that should be interesting.
Yeah. Um, I think we're just going to talk about the standard edition for that album, the nine
Yeah.
songs,
Yeah.
because there's one with "Feel Good to Me" edit and 2 live tracks. I don't think
Yeah.
those
Yeah. We're not,
necessarily.
luckily my CD doesn't include those, so we're fine.
Yeah. This is going to be an epic video. Probably. I never listened to that one before. These Tony Martin albums are blind spot albums for me. Completely
Hmm.
blind spots. Of course, when we get to Dehumanizer, I'm going to know that album because I'm a big fan of the Dio era. And then after that, we'll have 2 more Martin albums, which again I'm not familiar with at all.
Hmm.
And then we'll have the Heaven and Hell album, which is the only Dio Black Sabbath album that I never heard before. It's technically not Black Sabbath, but
Close
technically
enough.
is. Yeah, it's close enough to it. Never heard that album, and then we get to 13, which is their last album. But staying tuned for that. Again, this has been a really good steady series for us. Pretty cool. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So long.